Aloha Oddlyites, I am back with yet another video. This time I'm not going to be breaking down any gameplay. I'm going to be focusing on the storylines coming into Season 3 and moving into the Halo World Championship as we move into Halo 5. Going to talk about what you need to look forward to, who to keep an eye on, why to keep an eye on them. So I've got 4 or 5 storylines here just to talk about. I've made a little slideshow so you don't have to stare at my face as I sit in my computer chair talking about the different goings on. So with that said, I'm going to click forward, get to the first storyline we have coming into Halo 5. And that's new game, new pros. A lot of people think that because Halo 5 is so much more skill intensive, like there's an increased skill gap from all the different movement mechanics, the faster kill times, the guns shooting straight, and even though we have automatic weapons, like the headshot weapons, there's no bloom or spread anymore. So when you're shooting, you actually have to hit your shots, and you won't get punished for aiming correctly and just randomly missing. We've got guns that actually have a skill gap that isn't directly related to the game holding players back. So with that increased focus on individual play, there's a good chance that new players may rise up from the lower ranks, and we've already seen on the rise players with H2A like Frosty, Spartan, Unlegit, and Randa. Except for Spartan, you've seen me cover their gameplay with my video breakdowns. So as we move into Halo 5, there will be the big question: what separates the veterans from the talented? Will the old titans like Ogre 2 and Lunchbox and Roy and Snipe Down and Pistola stay above the rest, or will we see new players just break out? And I've said a lot that I don't think there will be that many new players, new faces in the scene. It it's usually a trend of if it's a younger player that breaks out, that player is just the most talented Slayer at the time. They're not necessarily playing the game smarter than other players. They are just better at aiming. And so you'll still see players like Ogre 2 who play a very zone focused gameplay stay at the top. You'll see Lunchbox who takes just amazing flag routes stay at the top. Snipe Down who uses cover better than any other players. He'll stay at the top. Pistola will still be the wizard. That's not going to change. But the storyline will still be there of whether or not these players may take over the scene from those not quite dominating the top that have always been in the top 8, but not like ever winning events or winning events convincingly. So we'll have to keep an eye out for players like Frosty or Spartan, or even new players that we've never heard of that just blast their way into the scene with a lot of effort and practice and just focusing on learning Halo 5 as they play for the Halo World Championship. And the next storyline we'll have everyone versus evil geniuses. It's no question that evil geniuses dominated Master Chief Collection. And Roy and Lunchbox have been at the top of the scene since Halo 3, the second year with Instinct, when they picked up. Alright, it was the third year with Elamite and Cloud at the start of the year. And then Roy and Lunchbox with Ogre 2 and Pistola and Halo Reach became known as the God Squad for good reason. They've won 5 straight LAN events without a roster change at Evil Geniuses with Lethal and Snipe Down. And they've got a combination of Lethal and Snipe Down and Roy's just raw skill, aiming talent, ability to use cover. Lethal's an extremely versatile player. They're adaptable. As I said with Lethal, he's just extremely versatile. Lunchbox will do anything it takes to win. Roy is just in your face aggressive, puts pressure on players to force them to make mistakes, and I mentioned Snipe Down's use of cover. It's just unparalleled. He's able to expose so little of his body when he plays that it's just hard to get an angle to shoot him. And of course they have the coach, Towie. He's no other team that I've seen has the level of trust for their coach that EG and Towie have. And part of that is he's he's always worked hard and even though I don't think he's competed as a pro player, he's always been like the type of person to do in-game coaching and help players improve on their gameplay. And the level of just work that he puts in and his knowledge and understanding of the game has proven that he's worthwhile to listen to, and he's great at ensuring the players are in the right positions. Like, while most coaches get billed as, oh, he's just a stopwatch to time power weapons and stuff, Towie is a real coach when it comes to Halo, and he is a definitely the fifth man on that team, whereas some teams may really be just a four-man roster and a fifth guy on the ride, maybe there to party from the hotel rooms, whatever. Towie is a real coach, and he is a real part of Evil Genius's success. There's a slight beacon of hope for players outside the Evil Geniuses roster. While most players were experiencing the honeymoons phase of Halo 5's launch, playing the game hard, getting their champion ranks on day one or day zero if they had early access, Lunchbox got married and went on an actual honeymoon. So his delayed start will mean he's a little behind other players, and Lunchbox has never been the dominant mechanical player that Roy or Snipedown are, so he's already, like, with Halo 5's increased reliance on skill, he's already at a little bit of a disadvantage. So this could hold Evil Geniuses back. I I'm not sure if it will. I'm not going to say it will. I'm not going to say it won't. But it's definitely something to look out for as the first few tournaments for HCS or Halo 5 in general start to open up. And we'll see if Evil Geniuses can move past that and get back to their dominant form as soon as possible, or if it's going to take them some adjusting, because this is a different game than Halo 2 Anniversary was, where H2A was a little slower paced. Halo 5, although Slayer games can slow down, it's much faster with the movement mechanics and the kill times. So there may be some bumps in the road ahead for Evil Geniuses, but that's one thing to look out for, and we'll find out when we actually get to see the teams scrim and play in tournaments against one another. The next storyline, Chig versus Envious. Chig was on Denial in Season 2, which Denial was APG, Hines, and Miquin, and Chig. And at the end of Season 2, Denial were looking to make a change because they weren't getting the results they wanted. They were finishing third. A lot of players and spectators and fans in general were considering them the second best team, even though they kept just meeting CLG and losing to them in the losers bracket at events. But Denial put up the best fights against Evil Geniuses in winners bracket and online tournaments, but they just weren't happy with how things were going, so they looked to make a change at the end of Season 2 and before Season 3 started. And although Miquin was hoping to stay with the roster, he mentioned that he brought up Pistola as a replacement for Chig. APG and Hines were like, yeah, we'll replace Chig with Pistola, but we're also going to replace you with Formal. So for a time, Miquin was like, all right, I'm going to stay with Chig, and we're going to go to Liquid. Miquin and Chig were excited about playing with Team Liquid, with Ninja and Ace. And then Miquin allegedly blindsided the team with the announcement and sudden decision that he was going to go team with APG, Hines, and Pistola, because Formal turned out it would not work out his schedule to play both Call of Duty and Halo, and as he was already successful in Call of Duty, it wouldn't make much sense to just make the risk of going to Halo, which doesn't have as established an infrastructure that Call of Duty has. It doesn't have as big of a fan base as Call of Duty has. It's just not as safe of a choice. So Formal made the wise career choice of staying with Call of Duty, and it ended up that APG, Hines, and Pistola came to Miquin and were like, all right, since Formal's not working out, how would you like to come? And Miquin was like, yeah, that team is far better than what I'm already with in his mind. And it's probably not a bad choice because APG is almost identical to Roy in terms of just raw, aggressive BR power. Hines is notorious for being a great support player, and Pistola, as I've said, is the wizard. He's one of the best players ever to touch Halo, and if you have an opportunity to team with him, you should always take that opportunity. So, looking forward into Halo 5, Chig will have to prove he wasn't the weak link that was holding Denial back. And with Liquid, he's going to have to just remain the consistent player that he has always been. He's never been the type of player to win an event for his team, and he's never, or to win a game even for his team. But he's also never been a player that will cause you to lose. He's just a consistent player, always in the right places, filling in where he can, just making overall good plays over the course of a game. It, with Envious, they'll have to prove that it wasn't a personal thing getting rid of Chig, that they just saw it's Pistola. He's the wizard. You can't blame a team for looking to replace them with Pistola, and with EG just being unable to be usurped from their throne, you have to make whatever change you can in order to pass them. And so with that, we'll move on to the next storyline, Spartan versus Liquid. Spartan coming into Halo 5, he was really excited to work with his team and Ninja on Team Liquid. And he was told there weren't going to be making any changes, but changes were made. Liquid, not happy with their 7th, 8th place finishes, ended up acquiring Ace, partially because Liquid's coach was Elamite Warrior. Ace is the younger brother of Elamite Warrior, and he wanted to be back with his brother. And they ended up picking up Miquin and Chig. Spartan was a valuable asset to Liquid. Like, he's a fantastic guy, very marketable player because, objectively speaking, Spartan's a pretty boy. He's got a good face for marketing. He's a good personality, excitable guy. He's a really easy player to sell to sponsors, and Liquid saw that, and they wanted to keep him. They kind of took a poor approach to doing that by saying, hey, how would you like to sit on our bench? And Spartan took that as an insult, which I don't think he should have taken it as an insult, but it is disheartening to be like, hey, you're not good enough for the starting roster we want, but we don't want to get rid of you. So, moving forward, there's a little bit of bad blood between Spartan and Ninja that will hopefully be settled in game. I'm looking very forward to the trash talk Spartan will throw as he faces against Team Liquid, because Spartan has never been the type to hold his tongue when he plays. Even after beating Elevate in, not sure if it was Iron Games Atlanta or PGL Indianapolis. I think it was at Atlanta when he was teaming with Excellence. He faced off against Elevate, his former teammates Gabriel, Munoz, and Straight Second Shooter, I believe. And after just Excellence upsetting Elevate, Spartan stood up, turned to Elevate, and said, "You are nothing without me!" And if Winter Fox and Liquid face off and there's a similar result in Winter Fox defeating Liquid, I expect Spartan to exchange similar words because he's a very passionate player. He's going to want to get his opinions heard. So, looking forward, we will definitely have to keep an eye on the rivalry between Spartan and Ninja and or Team Liquid. While both teams, I think, came out ahead of their H2A forms, like Liquid are better that now in Halo 5 than they were in Halo 2 Anniversary, and I think Winter Fox also improved by picking up Spartan and Shooter over Nated, Randa, and whoever their fourth was. Like, I can't even remember at this point. I know Ryan Oob's still on the team, but The Winter Fox roster is now 3 members of the Vazavi team that won Rooster Teeth Invitational a while back in Halo 4, and then Spartan replacing Straight Six. So it's a very talented roster with proven ability and teamwork. But this will be a good rivalry to keep an eye on throughout Halo 5. And next, we move into the most important storyline in the game. As we look into the Halo World Championships, there's only one thing anyone has on their minds, and that is the prize pool. It's currently $1.5 million, but that's not what it's going to stay. That money keeps going up as players, like not even competitive players, casual players, grandmas, 12-year-olds, whoever can get their hands on a credit card and grab a gold pack or a silver pack, you're putting money into one of these teams' hands at the end of the day. Like once we get to March, we see the Halo World Championship. That prize pool is possibly going to be $5 million. We don't know yet, but everyone is playing and training for this. They want that money, and it's going to be big money, more than League of Legends ever gives away at any of their tournaments, which is somewhat sad on League of Legends' part, but 343 and Microsoft get it that crowdfunding is the way to go when it comes to these big tournaments. It builds so much hype. It gets everyone excited to play, even if you don't have a chance to make it. Even if you don't have a chance to win, you're going to be practicing and hoping you get just good enough to make yourself proud. But even if you don't make it, you fought for it hard. And those teams that are at the top, like you're going to be fighting hard for this several $1 million paycheck. It's the kind of money that gets you set for a while, not for life. Good investments maybe you set for life, but $1.5 million just that's what it was after a week of rec pack purchases. The game's been out for 3 weeks now. Prize pool's still going up. We don't know exactly what it is now. But again, this is the main storyline in Halo 5 is that Halo World Championship prize pool. And with that, that's all I've got for now. I'll do a gameplay breakdown again soon. Until then, aloha.